Hello, welcome to Movie Summaries. Today we'll show you a horror, action, and zombie adventure film from 2021 called Blood Red Sky. Fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. Enjoy, and be sure to subscribe to watch more videos weekly, and hit like. The movie begins with a hijacked transatlantic 473 plane, heading for landing at the RAF base in Scotland. As the plane approaches, soldiers take position. The commercial airliner does not have an ID number on its tail wing. Colonel Alan Drummond arrives at the base and is briefed about the situation. It is revealed that the captain and co-pilot of the plane are dead. The person in the cockpit is given step-by-step instructions, and the plane eventually lands safely. Colonel Alan overhears radio communications from the plane mentioning an explosive device, and soldiers are immediately put on high alert. A little boy named Elias then appears at the cargo gate and slides down the plane using a parachute suspension lines. The soldiers carefully pat down the little boy and take him to safety. A man then appears in the cockpit window. Colonel Allen orders the man to stay put and place his hands behind his neck, threatening to shoot him. The man claims to be innocent and injured, but Colonel Allen suspects him of being a terrorist. Colonel Allen then sends a German translator named Naomi to the rescued boy to find out what happened on the flight. Elias seems disturbed and lost in his thoughts while holding his teddy bear firmly. He totally ignores the lady. He's clearly in shock after witnessing some crazy things. The movie then flashes back in time. Elias is seen alone at the Berlin airport. A little child traveling alone. Is Berlin the new Tokyo? Why is everyone acting like it's normal? He is then helped by a kind stranger to load his luggage for check-in. After the sun sets, you can see Elias's mom, Nadja, leaving an unusually gloomy hotel room for the airport, with a headscarf over her head and sunglasses on even though it's dark now. Elias and his widow mother, Nadja, are traveling to New York. Nadja appears to be suffering from leukemia, and is set to visit Dr. Brown in New York, who can provide her with the treatment she needs to restore her health. Waiting to board the flight, Elias befriends the stranger he met earlier, while Nadja heads to the restroom to take her medicine. She seems to be a great mother, doesn't she? The man introduces himself as Farid Al-Adwa, and he is a physicist, traveling to the US for a convention. In the restroom, Nadja appears to be drinking dark red liquid from a small bottle. Wonder what it could be. Hint, it is a bodily fluid. All passengers board the plane, and Captain and co-pilot Bastian prepare to take off. The stewardess, Julia, prepares to flirt with them. The plane takes off, and the passengers settle down. Moments later, a male economy passenger named Carl suddenly starts creating chaos, and the flight attendant who goes by 8-Ball tries to calm him down. To avoid any possible public panic, Air Marshal Michael quickly gets up from his economy seat to assist, taking Carl into the cabin divider. Air Marshal Holg follows Michael into the divider, and Steward 8-Ball swiftly closes the curtain. 8-Ball then takes out his knife and stabs Holg, while Carl subdues Air Marshal Michael and didn't see that coming. After killing Holg, 8-Ball interrogates Michael about the third Air Marshal. An economy passenger named Curtiz then gets up from his seat and heads into the cabin divider. 8-Ball sends Curtiz to the business class, where he murders the third Air Marshal in her seat. 8-Ball then stabs Michael repeatedly, like the madman that he is. Brutal. Even his fellow hijackers are disgusted. After neutralizing all Air Marshals, 8-Ball, covered in blood, enters the cabin flailing a gun, frightening the passengers. 8-Ball announces that the plane has been hijacked. One of the hijackers, named Berg, then heads towards the cockpit. Stewardess Julia requests him against going into the cockpit due to safety reasons, but, to her astonishment, the co-pilot Bastian is revealed to be involved in the hijacking. Bastian had given the captain poison and killed him. Bastian and Berg then dumped his dead body into the crew hatch compartment in the cockpit. All business class passengers are then ordered to move into the economy cabin. They really paid all that money to fly economy. Berg, who appears to be the leader, addresses the passengers from the cockpit and orders them to put their hands on the seat and head down as the other hijackers patrol the cabin. When a bloodstained 8-Ball approaches Nadja, she looks at him and starts shaking and breathing heavily. Drinking red liquid. Nervous around blood? I think we know where this is going. Crazy 8-Ball puts his gun on her neck, but Carl tells the eccentric 8-Ball to let her go. Meanwhile, another hijacker named Jarij sabotages the black box, preventing the plane from being tracked on radar. Pilot Bastian then starts turning the plane around. Elias, watching everything unfold, insists to his mother that they should take shelter in the cargo cabin, but Nadja shuts him down. 8-Ball becomes increasingly aggressive and beats up a passenger. Carl tries to calm him down. Seeing 8-Ball and Carl distracted, Elias gets up and runs toward the cargo door. Nadja runs after her son to stop him, but Michael sprays her with bullets. Carl then takes a frantically crying Elias back to his seat. The hijackers get increasingly worried by 8-Ball's combativeness. Berg warns 8-Ball against messing up again and confiscates his gun. He then gathers Farid and two other Muslim passengers together. He forces a man named Marvin to read English and Arabic notes. taking the blame for the plane hijacking. Marvin is a white Muslim convert and former ISIS terrorist. Berg then hands the note to Farid and shoots Marvin for not being able to read Arabic. It seems the hijackers are trying to make it seem as if the plane had been hijacked by Islamic terrorists. But why did Farid read more than 5 lines when the script only had 1 line to read? Despite being presumed dead by the hijackers, Nadja slowly regains consciousness, and she begins to relive the day that she lost her husband, Nikolai. One night, Nadja, Nikolai, and baby Elias got stuck in a snowstorm after their car broke down in the middle of nowhere. Nikolai asks Nadja to stay in the car with Elias and ventures out to look for help. Nadja kept waiting, but Nikolai didn't return. After he had been gone for hours, Nadja decided to head out with Elias to look for Nikolai. While looking for him, Nadja came across a farmhouse. She noticed blood on the floor and followed the blood trail into a basement. Like every dumb, brave protagonist, she followed the trail. When she entered the basement, a man appeared from behind and started growling at her like a beast. What else did she expect? Frightened, she locked herself and Elias inside the basement. To her horror, Nadja then came across the dead body of Nikolai in the room. The beast then tried to force an entry into the basement through the window. Afraid for her and her son's life, Nadja picked up a log of wood and started smashing it on the beast's head. The beast then started biting Nadja's hand, and she screamed in pain. But the sun soon started to rise, and the beast seemingly burned to death by the sunlight. It turns out that the beast was a vampire. After gaining consciousness, Nadja sneaks into the cargo compartment and removes the contacts and dentures that conceal her mutated eyes and fangs. Yup, now she's a vampire too. But we all expected that. Back to the plane, Curtiz and Jarij also venture into the compartment. Curtiz retrieves a bag and heads back to the cabin, reminding Jarij he has 15 minutes to complete his task. Jarij starts his work as Nadja becomes more and more bloodthirsty. Unable to resist her urges, Nadja finally pulls out a live dog from its cage. Not the poor dog, Nadja. The commotion attracts Jarij's attention, and upon inspection, he discovers, let's say an unpleasant sight. After getting exposed, Nadja kills Jarij and drinks his blood. Nadja then leaves a dog-like bite mark on Jarij's neck, and releases another large dog among the cargo from its cage. She's trying to conceal her identity, and wants to give off an impression that the dog killed Jarij. Smart move. Nadja then covers her eyes, and then heads back to the cabin. She notices Curtiz booby-trapping the whole airplane, and hides herself in the restroom. The Manic 8-Ball then announces to the passengers that they have booby-trapped the entire plane, and if anyone tries to follow the hijackers, a toxic nerve gas will be released into the cabin that will instantly kill everyone. After losing communication with Jarij, the hijackers then head into the cargo compartment to look for him. They are stunned to find Jarij's dead body, but they assume that the dog may have killed Jarij and continue with their plan. The hijackers wear their suits and prepare to parachute out. Meanwhile, after seeing the hijackers head into the cargo compartment, Nadja gets out of the washroom and looks for Elias. Nadja and the other passengers soon learn that the captain has been killed. The hijackers have set the plane on autopilot. The plane is flying on a fixed trajectory and is 43 miles from the target area. The hijackers are planning to crash the airplane into London. They intend to crash the stock market and influence election results. Nadja then takes a passenger named Muhammad and Elias into the cockpit after Muhammad reveals that he has spent time in a flight simulator. Nadja demands Muhammad to leave the plane on autopilot until hijackers parachute off the plane. Meanwhile, Crazy 8-Ball comes across Nadja's medicine in the cargo compartment and grows suspicious. Upon further inspection, he finds her bloodstains on the trapdoor and realizes that Nadja is alive. The hijackers then return to the cabin looking for Nadja. The passengers say she's in the cockpit. The hijackers order her to come out. Nadja blocks the door and orders Muhammad to turn the plane to New York. Unable to get Nadja to come out, Berg starts executing passengers outside the cockpit to force her to come out. Getting aggressively angry by the sight of passengers being shot, she comes out, but she turns into a full-blown vampire and attacks Berg. After biting Berg, she starts attacking the other hijackers, a terrifying sight. She proceeds to follow them, but Berg begins to transform into a vampire himself. Nadja returns back to him and stabs him with a knife before he can fully transform. 8-Ball diligently takes notes as this transpires. Afraid of Nadja, Muhammad locks Elias and himself in the cockpit. Nadja grows ashamed of herself and hides in the restroom. After cleaning herself, Nadja injects herself with a drug and begins to pass out. Nadja again starts reliving her past. After making it alive from the farmhouse where a vampire killed her husband Nikolai, Nadja started turning into a vampire and became thirsty for blood. At times, she felt drawn to devour her own son. Seeking answers, she went back to the farmhouse where she found drugs that suppress vampire tendencies in the basement. An elderly vampire then appeared from behind and tried to shoot her to stop the further spread of vampirism. Did I mention he was also a vampire? Quite hypocritical of him. But she overpowered and beat him to death. Before dying, the man warned her to stop the spread of the evil inside her. Nadja then escaped with vials of vampire suppressant and burned the farmhouse to the ground. Meanwhile, Crazy 8-Ball goes through Nadja's diary and deduces that she has become a vampire. He decides to burn her with UV light. The hijackers then set to return to take control of the cockpit. Seeing the hijackers returning from the cockpit, Elias storms out to get his mom from the restroom, while Mohammed locks himself inside the cabin. Nadja asks Elias to hide and moves to face the hijackers, but 8-Ball easily subdues her with the UV torch, while Carl, Bastian, Curtiz run towards the cockpit. After Nadja collapses on the ground, 8-Ball extracts her blood, to conduct an experiment later maybe. He proceeds to kill her, but little Elias confronts him with Berg's gun. He accidentally shoots a window which depressurizes the plane. Chaos ensues on the entire plane, as people struggle to breathe. Nadja gets up and shoots 8-Ball, who then flees into the cargo hold. Due to low oxygen, Mohammed dies in the cockpit, and the hijackers take over it again. Nadja hands Elias over to Farid, and goes after 8-Ball. 8-Ball locks himself inside a car in the cargo hold, and injects himself with her blood. Now you understand why I call him crazy. To stop 8-Ball from transforming into a vampire, Nadja pours alcohol inside the car and sets him on fire. Meanwhile, Bastian restores the air pressure on the plane, and puts it back on course. The cockpit panel alarm warns Bastian about the cargo fire, and he quickly turns on the fire extinguisher. The hijackers then return to the cargo hold to look for 8-Ball. Seeing them return, Nadja flees to the cabin, sending all passengers into a frenzy. Curtiz finds 8-Ball in the car, and sticks his head in to feel his heartbeat, when 8-Ball suddenly bites him. He has gone crazier. Honestly, everyone on the plane should team up against him. Scared, Bastian runs into the cabin, but Nadja locks Carl in the cargo hold with a bloodthirsty 8-Ball. Nadja manages to convince the passengers that she wants to help, and returns downstairs to lock 8-Ball and the other vampires inside. Farid and one other passenger help her keep 8-Ball locked, but the vampire manages to bite Farid's hand. To stop the spread of the vampire's blood throughout Farid's body, Nadja swiftly amputates his hand as he screams in pain. Ouch. At least it was easy and efficient. After securing both entries to the cargo hold, Nadja and Farid drag Bastian to the cockpit. Nadja orders Bastian to reroute the plane to New York, but she learns that the plane is running out of fuel, and they have to land soon, or they'll crash. Nadja and Elias then head into the crew rest compartment in the cockpit and contact Dr. Brown through a satellite phone. They ensure that Nadja has enough doses of cytarabine, the vampire suppressant drug, until they plan another visit to New York. Meanwhile, a passenger is badly injured in the cabin. He offers to give the onboard doctor $1 million if she is able to save his life. The doctor tells him that his money can't save his life, and leaves. Sensing his impending doom, the man drags himself toward the cargo hold's door and unlocks it, in hopes of being bitten by 8-Ball and reanimating as a vampire. Survival instincts. I wouldn't blame him, but that was a stupid move. After being set free, 8-Ball kills the man. Yeah, a stupid move indeed. He then proceeds to turn other passengers into vampires. Panic ensues in the cabin. Bastian, Nadja, Farid, and Elias helplessly watch from the cockpit as 8-Ball goes into a rampage, turning passengers into vampires. They realize that they must somehow kill all vampires before the plane lands to prevent the vampire blood from spreading. Farid proposes that they attach one of Curtiz's bombs to the fuel tank and blow up the plane. However, the bomb's remote control is in the cargo hold. Nadja offers to manually blow up the bomb, along with herself after the plane lands, and Elias gets off safely. Refusing to sacrifice his mother, Elias flashes Nadja with UV light and sneaks into a narrow passage that leads to the cargo hold to retrieve the remote. He manages to get to the cargo hold and get hold of the remote, but he is soon cornered by 8-Ball and other vampires. Elias hides under the car. Bastian reveals that the plane is on its way to the RAF airbase on autopilot mode, and anyone can land the plane just by pulling the brakes. Nadja then makes Farid promise to look after Elias before killing Bastian. Feeding on Bastian's blood makes Nadja powerful, and all vampires outside the cockpit cower down in fear. She is the alpha now. Nadja then rushes to the cargo hold and attacks 8-Ball. However, 8-Ball, who had been feasting on all passengers' blood for a hot minute now, soon overpowers her and drains her blood. She's not the alpha now. Seeing his mother helpless, Elias gets out and baits the vampire. Can we take a moment to appreciate this boy's bravery? When the vampire comes after him, Elias blows the cargo door open. Nadja then uses all her strength to get up and push 8-Ball out of the plane. After pushing 8-Ball, Nadja collapses on the ground. Elias and Mom are not flying out of the cargo door panel when it detaches from the plane. They sit and move comfortably as the door remains open, because air pressure doesn't work on the protagonists. Elias tries to wake his mother up, but 8-Ball again appears and tries to re-enter the plane hanging onto the cargo net. He just doesn't give up. But Farid comes to the rescue this time. Farid tries to warn him, but 8-Ball gets to Elias and grabs his leg. Farid quickly switches off the autopilot and steers the plane into the path of the morning sun, causing 8-Ball to burn and fall to his death. Seeing his mother devoid of blood, Elias slits his hand and offers his blood. Nadja wakes up and pushes Elias away. Elias sticks his bleeding hand forward to save his vampire mother, but she rejects him and flees, knowing that her taste for his blood puts him in danger. The movie then cuts to the present. Elias pleads with Naomi to save Farid, but she mistakes Elias's pleas as trauma, and an ambulance is sent to transport him to a hospital. Meanwhile, despite having told everything about the hijacking, Colonel Lowland continues to suspect Farid, who is still held in the cockpit at gunpoint. The man has been through a lot, Colonel. As the night approaches, Farid gets restless and decides to take a chance to quickly duck from the sniper's line of fire. Seeing Farid escape, Colonel Lowland orders soldiers to enter the plane. Before Farid gets to blow up the plane, the soldiers apprehend him and get him off the plane. Other soldiers enter the cabin and look for survivors. A bloodbath ensues as Colonel Lowland watches in horror from the control tower. Should've listened to Farid and Elias, bro. Meanwhile, Elias gains consciousness in the back of an ambulance, but before embarking, he demands his teddy bear be given back, and he becomes reunited with it. As a medic prepares to inject him with a sleep sedative, Elias swats the medic's hand, who then ends up sedating himself. Who is this kid? Clutch move. Elias then escapes from the ambulance and runs back to the plane looking for Farid. Elias sees his mother get out of the plane and feed on a soldier. The little boy calls his mother, but Nadja only returns a hungry roar and heads toward him with the intention of devouring him. Realizing that his mother is long gone, and all that is left of her is a rabid beast, Elias activates the remote detonator he hid in his teddy bear, and the entire plane explodes, killing her and the other vampires. Seeing the explosion, Farid pleads with the soldiers escorting him to return and look for Elias. Also, how are his hands cuffed when he doesn't have one of them? We will never know. Colonel Lowland then orders his soldiers to uncuff Farid and let him go. Farid hugs Elias as the camera slowly pulls away. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you can watch more movie summary videos weekly. Thanks.